I recently got to sit down with TRISEKT, an up-and-coming producer from the Pacific Northwest. He's got some of the punchiest, most intricate bass lines I've heard, and he's an incredibly hardworking dude. We chatted about all types of things, from production tips and tricks to some creative philosophy, his time in the Marines, and mustaches. I really enjoyed this talk, and I think that there's something for just about everybody to pull from it, so enjoy.
Oscillator One.
All right, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Glad to have you here. So, last time we chatted, you were living in Japan. You were in the military, right? In the Marines?
Yeah. So I was a Marine for 4 years, joined in June of 2019, and then got out in May of 2023, like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I was deployed. I deployed twice to Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there like right when COVID hit, and the military went crazy, like, oh, what do we do, And then I went back this year, and then I think I got there in like November of last year, and then I left in April of this year.
Okay. What did the military do when COVID hit?
Yeah, so I was right as I deployed, COVID hit. So we were hard ROM'd, they call it. So it means restriction of movement. So pretty much quarantine. And they had us on quarantine for 2 weeks over in Okinawa. And that was probably my most progressive music production gain I've ever had, just because it was like a super hard quarantine where you like literally could not leave your barracks room. So you had like a roommate and that was it. And you were just in there for 2 weeks, straight up could not leave. Like if you left, you got deranked twice or something. So for me, music production was like an outlet, a creative outlet that I could actually pursue. One of the only things I could actually pursue while I was in, and like all these different locations, because I just had this, like MacBook Pro. And that's kind of how I got into it. And then, yeah, all my downtime that I had in the military, I was just producing music.
Did you start producing before you went into the Marines, or was it something you picked up to pass time?
So before I was in the Marines, I was a beatboxer. I was a pretty good beatboxer, and I made some YouTube videos on it. I went by Nemesis Beatbox for a while.
Okay.
Then when I joined the Marines, I couldn't beatbox anymore. So I was like, okay. I've always had this like rhythmic kind of mind, like I'm naturally more inclined towards rhythm. Like that's kind of like what I would consider my natural innate, like, okay, I get rhythm, but tonal stuff or like melodic stuff, I've definitely had to learn that. But rhythmically, I've been very like kind of like that for a while. But yeah, I started out beatboxing when I was like 14 because I saw one of my buddies do it and I got super, super into it. And yeah, I just did that for a while. I can give a little demo if you want.
Yeah, go. Take it away.
All right.
Wait. It's not picking it up for some reason.
Is it now?
It's just gating it for some reason. All right, try again.
No way. It's gating it. Okay. Is it still doing it?
Yeah. It's like that's not dialogue. We don't need to hear that.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's cool, I guess.
All right, the people are going to have to live without it. But if they did want to check it out, is it still up on YouTube?
Yes, it is. It is. You can look up Nemesis Beatbox and you can see really cringe videos of me when I was a kid. I got up to like 15,000 subscribers, and I made a lot of tutorials, made some money off it as a kid. Yeah, you can go look up Nemesis Beatbox, and that's kind of where I started. And that's kind of where I got my rhythmic touch, I feel like. But yeah.
Do you ever incorporate your beatboxing into what you're doing now with TRISEKT?
I really want to, but when I was in the Marines, I had a roommate, and I'm not trying to like sit there, produce, and then like be on my mic like, like doing weird stuff. So I haven't yet. I mean, yeah, I really haven't yet, but I've tried a couple things out, but I do want to incorporate it. I would really like to, because I can do like certain basses. I would really like to make like wave tables out of them or something. And then maybe make like a fill pack of like me doing like little drum fills, beatboxing, and then add that in there. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Especially with what you have going on now, like layering it in. Plus it'd be super unique, not a lot of people making like beatbox mashed up with bass music.
It's very hard because it's very easy to make that stuff sound gimmicky, like oh, kind of like gimmicky. So I don't want to. I've tried it a couple of times, and it either ends up sounding hellishly sinister, like I make dark bass music, but that was like way too dark because I was just like transposing down my bass, like, dude, this is some demonic shit. I don't like this is crazy. Or it just sounds too like fruity and gimmicky. So I'm trying to find that like sweet spot. But yeah.
Nice. Just got to keep iterating on it. Okay. So why did you Why did you leave? Well, actually, in the first place, I guess. Why did you decide to join the Marines?
I didn't want to go to school. Like I just graduated. I joined when I was 17 and I'm 21 now. I didn't want to go to college. I was like, I don't want to do school. I just didn't like that structure, at least at that time. And then I had one of my buddies, Connor, he got me into the Marines because he was joining. I was like, oh, that's super cool. I was super motivated. I wanted to do it. And it was a good experience, but I pretty much joined because I really didn't want to go to school and I wanted to make something of myself. And also I knew if I ever did want to go to school, I would have the GI Bill. If you ever heard of that, it's like it pays for 4 years of schooling like completely, and you also get like housing allowance, so it's really really nice.
That's a sweet deal. And then why did you decide to leave then? Just wasn't for you, or?
Yeah, 4 years is definitely enough for me because I with the Marines, like for example, music, which is like one of my biggest passions. It's hard to play, like pretty much impossible to play shows, you know what I mean, or schedule dates or to like do any kind of in-person music community stuff, networking, because I'm flying to Japan now, and then in Japan, it's like it's hard to travel, it's hard to get out because you have to like go through all these systems or whatever. It's definitely for some people, but for me, I was like, okay, 4 years is definitely enough. I'm not going to do another 4 because then it's 8, and at that point, might as well do 20 because it's like now I'm. So yeah, I just got after 4.
All right, understandable. I have no idea what it's like, but if you're down in Okinawa, like there's not active conflict in Okinawa. So like what do you spend all of your time doing? Do you have a lot of time to set aside for music, or do you just have to squeeze it in?
That's a good question. Right now, the Marine Corps is kind of in like a non-combat phase. Like there's not a lot of combat. I never went and saw combat or anything, which I'm thankful for now. But I joined and I was like, oh, I really want to see combat. I really want to see, tough shit and get into it. And so that's why I joined. And I was a machine gunner. That was the job I picked because the machine gunner is like infantry and they usually go to combat. If there is combat, and I wanted to that was another reason I joined. I kind of wanted to see what like true reality looks like outside of a first world country. Like, what does it take to preserve that? And I wanted to see like I don't know. I found that really interesting, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. But wait, what was the original question? Sorry.
Oh, just like how much downtime you had and how you fit music
Oh,
into it.
yeah. So yeah, there's no combat in Okinawa, but there's a big base over there, and there's a lot of jungle biome. You know what I mean? So Marines go there for deployments to train and do like jungle warfare exercises and stuff like that. So we did some of that stuff, but there definitely is a lot of downtime on the deployments. There's a lot of like classes, and there's a lot of like little administrative stuff. Mostly Marines being in Okinawa is like kind of just like a presence, like, okay, we're here, like if anything happens, we're close in the Pacific, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a Pacific presence. So honestly, not much. So yeah, there is a lot of downtime. And in that downtime, I would focus on learning more about music production, like watching all kinds of videos and trying stuff out or just like experimenting in Ableton or whatever. But yeah.
Nice. The military, I guess worldwide, is pretty famous for being like hard edge and like focus on discipline and things like that. Do you think being in it helped you get better at regimenting your time and like fully applying yourself to tasks that you want to?
Yeah, that's a good question too. It was very interesting because when I went into it, I was expecting to have like super structured, like this is it, this is that, this is it, this is that. And it was actually surprisingly like disorganized in a weird way. It was like if there was ever a plan, because every time you go to train or do like an operation or whatever, you have a plan, you know what I'm saying? And I noticed every time we went to go out and do it, within 5 minutes, that plan that we took weeks writing down and like scheduling, just gone, And it really made me realize the chaotic nature of war. Like it really is just a crazy concept. You know what I mean? Like human beings disagree. A couple human beings disagree, and now we're sending like sons of mothers, brothers to sisters or whatever it is, to go die and kill each other for some like disagreement. I don't know. The whole concept's weird, and I really learned that war is just a mess, and whoever can handle the mess the best usually wins. So yeah, that's what I realized is like, okay, my job is very like you need to figure it out because there's no clear plan. And if there is a plan, it's going away in like 5 seconds. So I would say the biggest thing I took from the Marines was just like being able to just like make decisions on the fly and just be like, okay, I'm doing this. Like this is what I'm doing right now, and this is all I'm going to be doing. And I feel like that mindset really helped specifically with like producer anxiety, which I know like a lot of people get. Like everybody I feel like gets it. Oh man, like is my master hitting -3 LUFS or -8, and is Spotify compression gonna, but like what if that guy says my synths are too low and I should have raised this like 2 dB, and you know what I'm saying, like all weird shit,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I told myself this like right as I started producing, okay, I'm going to consistently release music. Like once a month, I'm going to release a song. Like that's what I'm going to do. And from that, that's just going to be like my rule. Okay, one song a month, that's what you're outputting. Don't care what you think. That's what you're going to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I made sure to schedule that around the military too. Like, okay, I'm going to be gone this time. So I need to make sure I grind on Ableton this time and then finish this on. But yeah, that was a big thing, was just like with producer anxiety, I just realized nobody really gives a shit. Literally nobody gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if they do, it's like it's like a 5 second, oh yeah, this is kind of ass, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then they like move on with their day. Like, oh, you know?
Yeah. Nobody cares as much as you.
Nobody cares as much as you. And that's liberating. It's a very liberating thing, because it's like, if you can ease up on yourself, there's nothing in your way, dude. Just keep outputting. And I don't know. I always think about like death, you know what I'm saying? Like when I'm rotting in the ground, am I going to give a shit about my -3 dB master that had some slight distortion at 3 minutes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I won't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, hey, when I'm dying, I release some dope bangers. They're going to stay on Spotify. And if I'm rotting in the ground, that's fucking cool. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of came to that. And I was like, okay, just keep putting out music. And for me, it was like, I noticed that starting a new song every month, or like multiple ideas all the time, you know, whatever, and like you can, you know, swap out, trash them, whatever it is, but like one song a month output was much more effective for me than just overthinking one song for like 3 months or a year or whatever it is. Like, okay, you know, because I realized the actual production process and like that practice of decision making really helps kind of just like get the flow going. And then once you start getting in a flow, and then once you start like showing yourself that you're consistently releasing once a month, it's, I don't know, it all becomes easier, you know, like once you start like actually moving and like just releasing consistently. I feel like you learn a lot more too when you're just like trying out new ideas on different songs. And every time I make a song, I learn something new about Ableton or about a method for like sound design or something like that. Oh shit, that's cool. Yeah, you know, I can automate that. Oh, that's cool. You know, little tiny pieces. Whereas with one song, once the production's done, now you're just sitting there staring at it, just judging the shit out of it and tweaking shit. And it's just like, you know what I mean? You're just stuck. You know what I mean? So for me, my workflow has been it's just my workflow, obviously. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got their own mojo, but for me, it's just been consistent releasing and just kind of saying fuck it, like it's good, you know what I mean? All right, cool. So
yeah, moving through the whole process and like practicing finishing songs, doing songs start to finish, and like getting every single step along the way, and kind of just at some point being like, this isn't quite as good as I want it to be, but you know what, like I have a deadline to hit, so it's good enough.
yeah.
And then sometimes the things that you thought were good enough, you like put them out and you're like, oh, actually that's pretty sick. And I'm like, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd put 12 more hours into that, because like it's fine how it is, and like I can do it better next time. But
That's true, man. That is so true. It's like, there's a lot of psychological concepts that you can kind of like hack your brain into, of like the deadline thing of like, okay, well, I have to release it at this time. Like, this is when I'm releasing it. So here's what I'm going to do. And then once that deadline hits, it's done, you know? And I've realized too, like whenever I finally release something and it's on Spotify and on SoundCloud and shit, and then I like listen back to it as if I'm just a listener. Like if I like listen to it in the car and I was like chilling, I'm like, oh dude, this is fine. You know, like whatever. It's cool. It's a cool idea, you know?
yeah. And that's the other thing. I think like the ideas, the core concept of the song matters so much more than like how perfectly you've tweaked that last,
dude, that is so true.
5-10%. Like you could, if the idea is bad, it doesn't matter if it's mixed like amazingly.
Dude, it's straight up. Like I always think of funk, the funk genre. If you look at funk, it's technically produced like shit or like mixed like shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it's garbage engineering wise, but like it's funny when you try and define garbage with art, because there really isn't one. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at funk and how successful it is, it's just like fucking blown out bass lines and distorted kicks with that funk cowbell going on, and like those like, you know, Memphis vocals, and it's got a vibe to it, and like the vibe is the core heart of the song, and that's honestly what listeners give a shit about, is the vibe. You know what I mean? They don't care about how loud. I mean, I guess there's like noticeable differences, but for the most part, it's not that hard to get your song to like whatever level. You know what I'm saying? But like,
as long as the quality isn't distracting,
right?
Then yeah, I think it's doesn't matter. Do you think your time in the military influenced the sound or the kind of music that you made, or do you think that was kind of just with you all along?
I've actually been thinking about that since I've gotten out, because I got out like 2 weeks ago, and I've been noticing like subtle nuances about myself where I'm like, oh shit, like I wouldn't be like this if I never joined, or I wouldn't be, you know. And it made me think about that exact topic of the music that I make. For me, like the whole reason my name's TRISEKT is because I want to trisect, like split into three: mind, body, and spirit. That's kind of like the idea of it.
Okay.
And for me, there's like mind music to me is like sound designy, like really cool sound design, interesting texture, really interesting rhythm. And then the body is like that pumping, like kick and snare, like dance music. You're feeling it in your body.
Hmm.
And then spirit, like the spirit side of it is more of like ethereal and has like an essence to it. You know what I'm saying? And I really like to try and make my songs have all three, but sometimes I'm just like, nah, this one's just body. Like this, like my song "Follow Me" that I released on Aim to Head. That one's just like, I don't give a shit. Like that shit's just heavy as fuck, and it's just like,
Yeah.
no spirit, but like it's just that. But getting back to the original question, wait, what was it?
How did being in the military influence your
Oh,
sound,
yeah,
if at
there it
all?
is. I always go on like tangents or whatever. I definitely realized when I first started producing, I was making like very, very heavy, dark stuff. And it was like, it was pretty much at the beginning of my career when I started producing, I was making just like body music or like just like one feeling, which was just like push and shove primal rage music,
Hmm.
And then as I started kind of like maturing, like I don't know, just getting older, having different experiences, getting more comfortable in the Marines, learning more about production, I was like, oh shit, I kind of want to try out different feelings.
Hmm.
And now that I'm out, I'm realizing that like I'm much more calm now that I'm out, because in the military it's very high strung, like this, that, this, that, this, that. And I feel like I was kind of like always up there. So when I made music, I wanted to like express that and like as an outlet, you know what I mean? Instead of like yelling at somebody and like being a dick, I'll be like, nah, I'm just gonna make some like heavy ass dark house tunes, just shredding, and it's like, it's kind of like releasing it.
Gives you that catharsis.
Yeah, yeah. So now that I'm out, I'm really thinking about kind of like a little rebranding thing. Like it's gonna be the same kind of a vibe. Like I like having a kind of a grungy feel.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to have more spiritual sounding or ethereal type feeling in my music.
Okay.
Not just like primal stuff, but yeah.
Okay. Are you just talking about like the sounds that you're using, or are you going to do words and lyrics, and like the messaging of your songs is going to change as well?
Yeah. No, I actually really do like working with vocals. I don't know if you get like good vocals are just so fun to work with. And I've worked with one singer, Tisha, once, and it was super cool.
Hmm.
It was super cool, like making the beat and then having her go on top of it. And then I got to like, she sung on top of it, and then I got to get it all together and then like mangle it even more. That's fun. That's really fun. So yeah, I could see myself. I really like mid tempo, or like I usually make mid tempo or house, and I really like ethereal vocals that are more like reverbed and sustained. You know what I mean? Not always like spoken word or like lyric, but I do like the presence of vocals. You know what I'm saying? Like the presence of like a vocal atmosphere, or maybe like a vocal rhythm with house. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But I also just like lyrics in general. So yeah, I can see myself doing all kinds of stuff, but definitely trying to shift to a more balanced state between like the mind, body, spirit thing.
Okay. So in Japan, how much time did you spend here overall?
I've spent about a year and 2 months of my life in Okinawa.
Okay, nice. Just like quick detour. How do you rate it? Did you get off base very much? Did you get to explore?
Yeah, no, I definitely did get to explore. My first deployment was awesome when I got to explore, because there's like American Village out there. It's like they know there's a Marine base right there, so like there's a shop there and stuff. There's a lot of tourists. So my first deployment was super cool. Like the food, the beach, ocean, the people. That was cool. And then when I went back the second time, it was like the exact same place. I was like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. Like it's going to be humid, it's going to be cloudy, but it's going to be this vibe and that vibe. So the second time around, I was like, okay, I'm kind of over it. But I did get to go to mainland Japan, which I think I talked to you a little bit about like on Instagram.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I got to go to Mount Fuji, and we trained over there for like cold weather, and I got to explore Tokyo. We got to go to Tokyo, so that was sick. I went clubbing there.
Nice.
This club called Warp. It was super super cool, and I really really like listening to music in a club. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shoot, I don't know, like the way it translates from had I don't know. I just love thinking about like, oh shoot, this was once some dude like neck bearded in terrible posture with his headphones on, like doing this, and now it's like making everybody dance. I don't know. I love the concept of that a lot, and I love just kind of like sitting there and just like enveloped in it. But
Yeah, the sound in the club really wraps you up.
it really does, yeah.
Have you DJ'd any shows?
No, nothing. I've never done anything because all I've done is just produce music, just put out songs. Because that was my thing. I was like, okay, for these 4 years, I'm gonna learn everything I can about music production, try my best to like get something going with an artist name, and just keep improving. Just focus on production only, like get that solid. And I feel like I gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, the stuff I make now, I'd be comfortable like playing live confidently. So I know like the bare bones of DJing, but I've never played live. And I really want to. Like I'm super excited to. But yeah, no, never played a venue or anything. Just a music producer.
I mean, now that you're out, the door is open, hey?
The door is open, man. It is. I'm super excited to like try and dabble with that stuff. It's definitely like a dream of mine. Like I've been making this stuff for like 4 years in my barracks room, and I always imagine like, dude, maybe one day like I'll be playing this song in front of a bunch of people, and like I'll know that I was just sitting in a box in the middle of the desert because I was stationed in 29 Palms, California. It's like in the middle of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't know, that concept is so cool to me. Like, oh, okay, so definitely gonna try and live that out.
Hell yeah. So are you in a good spot for that? If you don't mind me asking, where are you staying now that you're out?
I grew up in Redding, California. It's in Northern California. That's where I joined the Marines from. And then now that I got out, I'm back here. And then in about a month, I'm moving up to Oregon. So it's not the best hub for music by any means, but I'm also very, very obsessed with nature. Like that's like my other main passion. I love getting out into the trees and nature and just kind of like enveloping myself in that world. Like I really like backpacking. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like,
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up backpacking.
dude, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I love nature so much. And I got a good buddy up there, and that's another thing. I would say like my main passions are making music, going out into nature, and then making like really deep connections with people, like other human beings. I love deep talks, So if I can go out to nature with people that I'm close to and then listen to music at the same time, I'm just like my soul is just like, oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I got a buddy up in Oregon, him and his girlfriend, and I'm gonna move up with them in about a month or so and then live up there. And it's got really, really good nature up there. The music scene is all right. Like you got Portland, which is a big city, which has somewhat of a scene. I'll see what's up. But honestly, just like I would have fun just playing a small time show or whatever, and then keep going on the thing I'm doing, which is just like keep producing, keep the month to month going, just keep operating and keep an eye out. Now you can actually start networking and seeing what's up for like actual live shows. But yeah.
Nice. So you're not going to be living in Portland then, somewhere smaller.
Yeah. So I'm going to be living in near Ashland, Oregon. At least that's the plan right now. Ashland, Oregon. It's a little bit southern, and it's got the ocean over here, cool trees over here. Portland's about like I think 3-4 hours away, but I mean, if I'm playing a show, then that's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not bad. And then I also there's a city called Chico in Northern California that I could go to as well, and also just LA. I could always fly down there because I got friends there and stuff. But yeah, no, if there's ever a venue and I get like booked, I'm going. I don't care. I'm flying out there, like that's, yeah.
100%. Quick aside, Northern California and then the Pacific Northwest as a whole, like some of the most beautiful nature.
Dude, yeah, it's nice, man.
You're blessed.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Colorado.
Oh shoot. Okay. Yeah. What'd you think of Colorado? Because I've heard it's nice over there.
It is. It's fantastic. It's super dry, which is better for me overall. And then maybe an hour to get to the mountains. I grew up just outside Boulder. So yeah, super close to the mountains. I used to be able to take like a bus from like my house to like this little ski resort. So like every weekend in high school, I'd be like taking the bus up and skiing and yeah, doing things on the weekend with my friends and family in the mountains.
Dude, that's cool.
But now it's just prohibitively expensive.
Yeah. So how did you end up in Japan?
I just
And why Japan?
It's a bit of a long story. Why Japan? Completely on accident. Basically, after I graduated college, I kind of didn't know what to do. And I was like working, I was doing like live concert production and stuff like that. So like
Yeah.
stage handing and shit like that. And then I went and worked on a weed farm with one of my friends from college. And all these people there were like, yo, you should travel. Like we've been all these places. Like here's all these suggestions. And I was like, all right, I got a bunch of money now. So I'm just going to like go on like a 3-month trip to like Cambodia, and then ended up getting there and being like, I'm not going back.
Wow.
And so I just ended up in Vietnam, lived there, traveled to Europe a bit. And then a couple years down the road, I was like, I'm going to meet my brother. We're going to go meet halfway kind of in Japan, like do some skiing and travel around. And that was just before COVID. So
Dang.
like my brother left and I was going to hang out in Kyoto for a week and like work on producing. and just like, soak in the creative, peaceful vibes.
Right.
And then a week later, like boom, all the borders closed. And so I was just like, I guess I'll just wait it out here for a little bit.
Wow, that's crazy.
Now it's been like over 3 years.
Dang.
Yeah.
So are you gonna stay?
I'm trying to leave at the end of this year. My visa
Okay.
expires in November.
Are you going back to the States or?
No, the plan now is to go back to Southeast Asia for a bit and hang out,
Dude, that's cool.
save up some money,
That's really cool, man.
and then hopefully hop off to Europe because it looks like probably thanks to Aim to Head and Moriton, but a lot of my listeners are in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure if I want to move somewhere that's not the States and start playing more shows and, be doing in-person stuff, then it seems like a decent option.
Dude, yeah, Europe is popping over there, dude. Like over in like Hungary too. A lot of people over in Hungary, they get down to like dark clubbing stuff, or like
Yeah.
heavy clubbing stuff. And it's just like I can tell because I've seen some videos and they have like they get it, you know what I'm saying? Like the crowd gets it, like they're really there and they're feeling the vibes. And it's like, dude, I go there, dude. Like, or like St. Petersburg or something. That'd be so sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Budapest is definitely on the list
Yeah.
as an option. I wonder, like, I was just digging through it a little while ago, a few days ago, like kind of thinking like, where should I go? What do I want to do? And a lot of people, they were like, yeah, like it's a nice city and everything, but like so many people are just like so angry because like the politics aren't great, the economics aren't great.
Mhm.
Eastern Europe in general is just like, a bit grumpy as a society. And now that you mentioned it, I wonder if that their appreciation for like dark, aggressive music in some way like is because of those factors.
It may be, dude. It really might be. I really do feel like music is it's a way to release energy or express energy without like if you're upset and you listen to like heavy ass music, I feel like it's a way of kind of like disseminating the energy instead of like being a dick to somebody else. People would just be like, listen to like some hard ass music or whatever, like go to the gym, release the energy. And then it's like, because that's another reason I feel like I produce like heavier stuff, because I actually didn't like consciously choose to like, okay, I'm making dark mid-tempo bass music. It was just like, what do I want to make? I was like, okay, I want something intense, and I kind of just felt it. I was like, okay, yeah, this mid-tempo shit's really cool. I really dig mid-tempo. And I kind of just gravitated towards that naturally. So yeah, I feel like that would definitely be I'm sure there's like some data on that would definitely align with what you just said.
Yeah, or this is on YouTube. So if anybody listening is from Poland or Hungary or anywhere over in the Baltics, like Eastern Europe,
let us know.
Tell us. Yes.
Yes.
We have no idea what's going on. So you've been doing this for 4 years, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
About 4 years. That's crazy. Your shit sounds so good. It's like so big and juicy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
And I don't want to give away all your secrets, but you referred me to Slap by Yum and Mr. Bill. And you also referred me to Punch. Is that how you say it?
Punch. Yeah, Pancz.
Yeah.
Punch, I think.
Yeah, I ended up picking up both of those. Crazy. It's like a producer hack. Like those two are the closest plugins that I've gotten, aside from like maybe, Ozone, to just making something sound like huge with honestly like not that much effort put in.
Yeah.
Putting Slap on my drum bus or like my kick and clap, anything really, and being able to like tweak all the parameters just right there instead of layering on glue compressors and saturators and everything, and like drum bus to get it to sound. And this one, they're just like, yep, I want it to be like that tight and put a little bit of noise on top and like distort it like this.
That Slap plugin is just so good. It's like, it's so controlled. It like you can really fine tune what you want to happen. And for me, like when I make a lot of like rhythmic based stuff, like faster stuff, and then sometimes I make other shit. But like for my rhythmic stuff, which has a lot of like bass plucks and fast moving parts, that Slap plugin is always being used. It's so good because there's so many options. Like, I don't know if anybody watching doesn't know, it's like a transient shaper plugin, I guess. And it's got a bunch of other like little modules in there, but I mainly use use it for the transients because it'll detect the transients of the sound. And then it also has like a transient little noise blip that it'll put there and you can choose from it and shit. And then you can also, there's that knob where you can turn it and it like actually like shortens the sound. You know what I'm saying? Like it shortens the sound.
Yeah.
And that works really, really good for like, you can get some really cool plucky basses with like cool textures, even though like the original patch sounds messy. Like it can be like like a sustain maybe, or like a not a pluck, and then you could put that on there, crank that knob, and then it's like a nice, you can get like a nice 16th note tight thing. But like, yeah, like you were saying with drums too, on claps, if you get that, like that pre-shifted instead of like can't, you get like that can't, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That shit hits. And you can have like an over compressed sausage song, but still have like really nice transients that sound like dynamic in there. So yeah, highly recommend Slap and Paunch. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's that when you did the Dead Eyes remix for me and you sent it to me, it was the loudest one out of all the ones. And I was like, how did he get it this loud and make these transients sound so like clicky and punchy?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's the answer as I found. I was going through your YouTube and you have a tutorial that you posted recently about making really juicy plucks and serum
Yeah.
and like setting the a pitch envelope to the master.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I played around with that and I ended up accidentally making just like a TRISEKT bass. I was like, did that, put some like trash 2 on it and then put punch on it. And I was like, oh, I've just uncovered the secret sauce.
Dude, that was something. Here's my thing with the secret sauce is like, I want to hear more good music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And like the secret thing is like, I guess I kind of get it. Like you got to have some stuff and, to like make yourself unique or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, I mean, like you hear bass plucks in like almost every song ever, somehow, somewhere, like a plucking type sound,
Yeah.
And when I first started, I was like, dude, why has nobody made like a cohesive, like, how do you get actual fat pluck basses? You know what I'm saying? Like, where's that shit at? And I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to learn it. And then I went, years later, whatever, I was like, okay, I figured it out. Like it has to do with like all these different things. And then there's like a couple plugins that are super good, but you can get it straight out of Serum with that like tune thing or whatever I did in the Matrix.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is good. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a YouTube video about it,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, dude, this is money. Like, I feel like this would actually help out a lot of people. And also, like, little subtle things that I've always been like figuring out. I'm like, oh my God, that's like the professional touch that everybody fucking knows about, but I've never heard about. Like, it's not on the internet. Like, another one for me was kind of recent is like really using return tracks, put reverb on return tracks and having like a tiny small, what is it, like the decay time on it,
Mm-hmm.
and just give that slight little like brightness in the high end,
Yeah.
and like that tiny little space, and like that like a little bit bigger, and you can make stuff sound wider, you can make it sound more like real and wet, and you can keep like the mono compatibility too, because you have that separate like return track. And I was like, dude, that just changed the game for me. Like, why have I not come across that, bro? Where's that shit at? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna make another one on return track. Like, dude, secret sauce, here we go. I'm the motherfucking dude spilling the beans. I don't give a fuck about magician, never tells his tricks. I'm telling the tricks, man, because I don't know, I would appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I understand why some people are protective about things just
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, well, this is like my thing. Like if I tell everybody and everybody starts copying it, then suddenly like I guess everybody sounds like me, and then you're forced to innovate and evolve, like what happened with Flume or something like that. And everyone's like, oh, like filtering saw waves, like making little flutter sounds, and he's like, all right, shit, I guess I have to like go do something else. And we're not all Flume,
Yeah.
and can't like consistently come up with like revolutionary sound design or.
Dude, Flume is just nuts, man. It's so nuts.
But at the same time, like I think if you're serious about your craft and you're really committed, and if you really have something special to give in the first place, then helping other people out along the way isn't going to set you back.
Yeah, and for me, it goes back to like what I was talking about earlier. Like, I'm gonna be dead in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
rotting away. Am I gonna give a shit about like my producer secrets that I like? You know what I mean? And I guess like, yeah, I got some producer secrets. I'm like the slight little things or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know, like the main stuff that like could actually help people make better music. When I'm on my deathbed, I would rather like to think, oh, like, yeah, I did my best to like help people out, you know what I'm saying? Like with music production, or like anything in general in life. And I didn't like bottle it all up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just how I feel personally. And that's kind of why I do the tutorials. And I want to make more for sure. I'm really trying, now that I'm out, because I just told you, like, I was Nemesis Beatbox, you know what I'm saying? I had a YouTube channel for like 5 years as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I love creating. I love making videos. I love learning how to edit stuff. I love learning how to take pictures and video, and learning how to make music. I don't know. I love that. Just creating stuff is super fun for me.
Yeah.
And I've really been wanting to create content for a long time, like for music and stuff, and like make music videos. Shit, you have one. I saw that one. That was sick. That was a dope ass music video.
The old one.
Yeah. What song was it?
Euphoria.
Yeah. That was dope.
Thank you. That was in Vietnam, and I had like a surplus of money for the first time in my life, and I was like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go commission a bunch of costumes and like buy a video team and like film a
Dude,
video.
I love the spontaneity of that. Of just like, fuck it, music video, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I love stuff like that, dude. It's just like spontaneous ideas that are just like, this might get like 10 views. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just gonna put it out. You know, I love that energy so much.
Yeah. I mean, just the act of doing it was so fun. Like going through, I got to like help with the design and watch everything come together, scout locations, like make a shot list. Like it really gave me an appreciation of like how much actually goes into creating like a semi decent music video. Like there's
Yeah,
so many moving parts.
dude, there is. Yeah.
Yeah, you get there, just like the process of it all is so much fun, and like chipping through it, and then like finally you have all the things and you're like, oh, now I have to edit this, which also
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
eternity. Really rewarding, really fun.
I've realized that with coming from music production and then like learning other shit, like a lot of stuff kind of translates a little bit. Like with editing photos, like I just started, like I just got this camera and I started editing photos in like Lightroom,
Hmm.
and it's got shit in there like saturation. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's like the sense perceptions are like equivalent. It's like, oh, this is just making the picture warmer, just like it makes the sound warmer by like adding harmonics and shit. I'm like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Like little things like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it carries over. And then there's also like, you ever hear like the difference between like soft skills and hard skills? You ever hear that shit? Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of soft skills like with just learning something in general, where it's like, okay, I took this time to like learn music production, and the act of learning takes like certain steps in your head that when you go to learn something else, you're applying the same type of stuff and you can like learn faster. So I realized like the more you create and the more you learn stuff, the more you can like learn stuff way faster. Because you like just repeat those neural pathways. I don't know what you want to call them, but
I mean, that's like the essentially what school is for, right? It's just like
yeah.
learning over and over and over so that you get good at learning things,
Yeah.
theoretically at least. That's what that's what we should be doing, but results may vary. All right, I'm gonna circle back to sound design for a second. How do you monitor your tracks, and like what's your process for referencing? Do you have studio monitors? Is everything you do on headphones? Do you check other people's mixes, or do you have the stones to just be like, you know what, this sounds good. I don't care what other people's music sounds like.
So as far as setup goes, I've had MacBook Pro 2019 MacBook Pro with a i9 processor, and yeah, it's good. It's still running great. And headphones, the Audio Technica M50Xs, the white ones. I've had these guys, like these things are like the cuffs are like dying, you know, just like my head's been sweating in here forever. But yeah, I just laptop and headphones for the whole time until now. Because I got out, I actually was able to buy the Yamaha HS8s purely with TRISEKT money, and I was like, oh shit, that's so cool. Like it's kind of like going back into itself. But okay, yeah, so as far as like referencing and all that shit goes, I like to consider myself a broducer. I kind of like made this word up and I kind of want to start using it more, but like there's producer and there's broducer. You know what I'm saying? I am a certified broducer, and what I mean by that is if it sounds good, I leave it. If it sounds loud enough, I leave it. And like that's naturally where I rest. Like I kind of have a messy style, like a messy creative style. Like when I'm trying to get stuff done in my day, I'm just kind of like, like I'll get it done. Like I'm just gonna do it. You know, because I don't know, like the lists and shit, like it can kind of help, but for me and my brain is kind of like doing shit. Like, all right, you know. So when it comes to that, I've actually had to like consciously be like, okay, I want to make better music, so I need to like, because that side of just like fuck it, it's good is nice to have for consistent releasing. But for like slow and steady, like actual improvement with stuff, it's different. And for the longest time, I was only progressing in the production side. So I was getting better at sound design. I was getting better at arrangement, you know, like flow, all that shit, fills and breaks and transitions. And then I just never really thought about like mixing shit. It was always just like I had one thing on the master, like this one master act that I'd made a while ago. I was like, that's always fucking sitting there. It sounds good. I'm just going to shove everything as a master chain, comes out pretty loud, and fucking release it. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was for the longest time. Until about, I feel like, I don't know, 2022, maybe mid 2022. I was like, okay, I need to take a step back and start like learning the boring stuff. Like, because I love learning like sound design, cool textures, arrangement, how to make the flow better. But I was realizing like my production is like getting really good, but like this shit sounds over compressed as fuck, or like this is like compared to other songs, it's almost like it's distracting. Like the lack of good quality is kind of starting to get to the point where it's like, dude, the idea is so good, but like you need to focus on this shit to get that idea to like that next level, like that professional studio standard or industry standard shit. So then I was like, okay, I need to learn more about like mixing and like all that shit and mastering. So I got the gist of mixing pretty quickly. And I do references, and occasionally, like, so my recent song that I just released, Darkness in Motion, I was like, I put that one on the back burner, and I was doing my monthly releases, like this song, Darkness in Motion, I'm doing the absolute possible best. I'm not getting lazy with any of it. Like this one's gonna be like, this is like my practice song for like high quality, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like what I did.
It came out amazing. It sounds so good.
That was the song that I realized the reverb return track trick, and I was like, holy shit. Because I was making those pluck basses, and the pluck basses are like really short, but with the reverb, it like, because if you take off all the return tracks and you just listen to the song, it sounds like shit. Like it's actually like kind of distorting a little bit, and it sounds like overcompressed and ass. Like and the high end sounds really fucking gross and choppy. Turn on the reverb tracks, it's like that perfect subtle touch, and the reverb can like actually get rid of like some of the audible distortion like completely. I was like, holy shit, you know? So like little things like that. But back to the original shit. Yeah, so basically for my mixes, I have, you know, I got my drum group, I got my bass and synth group, vocals group, and then I have like instruments group, and then I have effects, you know, and like I kind of do it that way. And then I group that, and then I do a lot of like clipping and shit. Like pretty much now my process is FabFilter Pro L2 on the master chain. That's it. Like that's all I have on there, and everything else is in the mix. And that for me has been the biggest liberation for me, because mastering, I feel like that's my last thing that I'm still like, what the fuck is going on? Like I'm compressing the whole thing right now. Like what's actually happening? I can't really fucking tell.
Yeah.
But you know, if I tweak this like 0.3, it kind of looks cool. And it looks like really technical. So I know what I'm doing. And I was like, I hit a point, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't. But I do kind of know how to mix. Like I know how to make levels, and I know how to like work that together. So I'm just gonna fuck the mastering for now. And this is what I've been doing over the past like 6 months. Fuck mastering. FabFilter Pro 2 on there. I have it on almost clipping or like transient punch or some shit, you know, like a little setting on there. And it's just sitting there, totally default. And then I also have like the utility on with bass mono too. That's it. And that's it on my master. And then everything is just in the mix. And doing it that way lets me like chop up the feeling of like, fuck, dude, I'm compressing the whole song. Now it's just like, okay, I'm compressing this sound, and I actually like can tell what's happening. You know what I mean? And like breaking it down that way has been so much nicer for my brain. And it's definitely boosted my quality, because I realized the master chain I was using, it kind of made shit like over compressed. And then when I did just put the Pro 2 on it, everything sounded so much more dynamic, like off the bat, and like rich. And I was like, oh my fucking God, dude, I should have done this like last year.
Yeah.
Damn it, you know? So once I figured that out, yeah, that's kind of like what I'd be doing. And I have a analyzer rack. And what I do with that is sometimes I mostly reference a song to get an idea going. Like, okay, what kind of vibe do I want? All right, like let me look at this shit I've liked on SoundCloud. Oh, that's pretty sick. And then I'll just like have it there, and I'll like look at the arrangement or like how it's going and how it does. And then I'll like apply some of the arrangement. And then from there, usually some whole other idea takes off. And then that's kind of like how it starts for me. And I start with the drop most of the time, but I also like to switch up and just, okay, I'm just going to make an intro right now and just get like a vibe going, you know, and doing it like both ways has like different results and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, just messing around. But I guess, yeah, I think that answers everything you asked.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think definitely approaching songs, like if you usually start with drums, try to start with like the melodics or the bass, or if you usually start with a drop, try to start with an intro. Constantly changing that up keeps you from getting stuck in like a creative rut, I think. So you're saying you're grouping out your different things, like your FX and your instruments and your drums. Are you limiting? Like, are you basically doing like baby mastering on each one? Like limiting each one and then kind of like making them all fit together?
So I watched this video by Ahi. You know who that is? You ever see his videos?
I've heard the name, but I'm not really familiar.
Okay. He makes good tutorials, and he had this one tutorial I recommend checking out, anybody watching, about when, you know how like Skrillex released like his project file for like Mumbai Power on his YouTube channel, and like he just like
Yeah,
scrolled through
that's
shit.
exactly where I got it from. I was like, well, if Skrillex is doing it, I mean,
Yeah. So I watched the Ahi video, and he was pretty much just like, guys, we got Skrillex's project file. We're gonna fucking break this shit down. All right, zoom in here. He's dropping this -2 dB. He's routing this here. He's got Fab Filter over here. Here's the Skrillex template. And I was like, I'm doing that. And then yeah, I love how you had the same fucking shit. And I have sometimes I'll put a clipper, like maybe sometimes for the bass I'll clip it because sometimes I just want like fuck you, like just shove that shit into a clipper. Then sometimes I'll do just like a limiter, like Fab Filter Pro L2 on there. But yeah, I definitely do like the whole, this section's being limited in this bus, and then this bus, and then this bus, and then all that is going into the master limiter. So it's like, it's not just overloading one limiter. But yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Because that way you have your little groups and you can balance things within them. And then you end up with like, if you've done your job well, like you have maybe, 5 or 6 puzzle pieces that you have to fit together to go smoothly into the last limiter instead of 50 to 100 individual little things to deal with, which is a nightmare.
Yeah. That was the biggest thing I realized was like, I'm actually good at mixing, because my whole thing I said earlier about like, I got really good at production, but like not mixing. I was realizing I was technically mixing, but I was just shoving the mix into a fucking slammed out like master chain, you know what I mean? And like that's what was giving me the overcompressed feel. And then once I took it off and put the Fab Filter on, I was like, oh shit, like I actually kind of do know how to mix. It's just been because I had a template project file, and I was like, okay, I want to do an idea. I just want to fucking start an idea. Template, that master chain's always there. And I kind of never really thought about it because I hit a point where I was like, I don't even touch this master chain. I just export that shit when it's done and hope it sounds good. And now I've kind of started like pinpointing what I need, and like when I reference a song too, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'll look at like the sub and shit and like see where their kick's hitting a lot, because with headphones like I don't get any like very good readback on it. So I look at the spectrum on that, and I'll see like where they're hitting with their kick, their bass. Are they tuning their drums? Some people are like, tune your drums, people are like, don't, whatever, all this shit.
Yeah.
But I try and kind of have like a half producer approach, half producer approach. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's good to have both and know when to activate one and when to like tell the other one to shut up. You know what I mean?
When to dig a little bit deeper and put some of that extra work in, when to be like, just stop, it's fine, leave it.
Right, yeah.
So through all of this, you've managed to create what I think is like a pretty solid signature sound. Like when I hear a song on my release radar or something, I'm like, oh, this is a TRISEKT song. Like clearly, I think the sound,
that's
like
cool.
your the pluckiness of it, like it's distinct. Like was it intentional branding, or is it just taste?
I think it's honestly just taste, man, because it's cool that you say that, because I would hope that I have like a signature sound. I've let the producer take up, because I've been thinking like, shit, dude, like, do I need to make another artist account to like make a different vibe music? Because like TRISEKT has its own thing, and I have to like funnel this signature sound, like it has to meet the signature sound. And if it doesn't, so I was like, damn, I got to make another artist account. I was like, nah, I do have another artist account. If you want to check it out, it's just Alex the Greek. It's like different type of music. It's like a totally different type of music though. It's more like wave and like chill, like lo-fi shit. Just like, I don't know. But so like I'm not gonna put lo-fi on TRISEKT, you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
But it's cool that you say I have a signature sound, because I don't really go for it. But like you're saying, if it sounds plucky, I love plucks. I love very intentional sounds, and like I love kind of keeping my drops pretty minimal. Like this is what's happening. Like this is what's happening. It's not overlayered. There's not too much going on. It's usually just like, here's the drop. These are the rhythms I want you to focus on as the listener. And I want you to like really feel them. And I don't like to clutter with too much like high end, super big like leads on top of it or anything. I like to be like, here's what it is. And each sound is like nice and sizzly and like well thought out. That's cool. That's cool to hear the feedback on that, man. Yeah, that's you definitely do too. I would say something with your drums is very signature. Something with like the way the way your kicks hit and like your drums. Yeah, that your percussion. It's always like
my kicks are shit. I'm still trying to figure out kick drums.
Dude, nah, bro, you got good kicks, man. You got good kicks. I was gonna ask, what do you do for like mixing and like referencing and shit? Like, because are you like, would you consider yourself like producer or producer, or like more producer than producer? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I would. I don't know. I go back and forth. Some days I'm like, damn, I'm really good at this. Like I open up a project and I'm like, I don't even need to do anything. Like, why did I leave this? This is done. And then sometimes I'm like, I really like this idea and I have no idea why nothing is working. Like the bass sounds like shit, the drums sound terrible. And like,
Hate days like that, man.
they're just projects where I'm like, man, this is a really good project and I don't know how to make it better. So I've been trying to just like, I guess, be a producer more, like to keep up
Hey,
the
we're making it a thing.
consistency.
We're making it a thing on this podcast. Producer and producer. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Producer, super nerd, mastering engineer type stuff. Producer, funk producer. It sounds good. Leave it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the Chad producer versus the Virgin producer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a thing now.
I basically do something similar to you. Like I bust my stuff. I'll have like the kick and the clap or kick and snare together typically if they're layered, just so I can like get the levels like consistent. And then I'll usually have like hats and percussion, the bass, and then maybe, depending on how intricate the intro and stuff is, usually if things happen together and I think that there's going to be a lot of overlap and like competing frequencies, I'll put those together and kind of sort them out. And then stick it all and master it at the end.
Yeah, okay, yeah, mastering. So I'm personally hitting the point where it's like, okay, I've been doing the fab filter thing for a while and it works, but like now I'm like kind of like taking the peek into mastering again of like, okay, here I come again. The rabbit hole of fucking figuring out how to master shit.
I think if you're good enough at mixing, then mastering is like becomes less and less essential.
Okay.
If you're doing your job as best as you can, if your mix is like exceptional, then your mastering chain should just be a limiter.
Okay.
I think.
I like that. Yeah.
Like for the kind of music that we're doing,
yeah.
It becomes different if you're like, if you're releasing a project, if you have a whole album or an EP, mastering is essentially getting a song ready for release. So in that case, it would be making sure all the tracks sit together nicely and like frequency balance and overall loudness are the same so that as you listen through the whole thing, it sounds consistent. But I mean, if you're just doing singles, dance music singles, it's basically just making sure that it sounds ready. Make sure it sounds comparable. If you're going to DJ it, you don't want your song to come on and like be way louder than every other song in your set. I mean, maybe, but
yeah. Hey, that's my song, dude. You hear that shit blasting, bro? Yeah.
And by the same token, you don't want it to be quieter and sound less punchy.
Yeah, right.
So you basically want it to sound like equivalent, at least to other songs in the genre that you might want to be putting it alongside. So like my mastering chain is like Isotope Ozone 9, and I'm not technical. Like it has like an automatic, like detect audio.
Yeah. I have Ozone 10. Yeah.
I'll put it on like the loudest, gnarliest part and just like have it analyze that. Maybe I use its EQ. I typically don't. I basically use its dynamic EQ and then the maximizer.
Dude, that's honestly so nice to hear. Like, it's so nice to just hear that, like, we're all kind of doing the same shit. Just kind of like, yeah, this is the AI. It'll listen to my shit. Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, fuck with this EQ. Like, I love that. I love that so much, man.
I mean, honestly, I'm sure somebody will be like, oh my, in the comments, chewing us out for being lazy and relying on the AI automatic like detection. But the thing is, like, after listening to a song for like 100, several hundred, 1,000 hours, like I don't really have the perspective left in my ears to like go in and be like, these are problem areas. Let me put like the dynamic EQ in these spots so that it sounds clear when it gets like compressed more. So far, the computer's been doing a good job. That's, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I usually just kind of like with a reference track, I'll literally like not look at anything. I'll just be like, I'll literally close. I do this a lot too. I would like recommend every producer kind of trying it out. Like when you're producing and you like make a decision and you like want to play it back, like, I don't know, for like a 5-second length or 10-second length, I always like look away from like from Ableton. I'm just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like actually like feeling the vibe of it instead of like looking at all the grid points and all this shit. I'm just kind of like, okay, and I'll do that when I'm like mastering or mixing or whatever. I'll just listen to a reference track, no analyzers, just like the feeling of it, because that's what listeners are getting. You know what I mean? Like what is the feeling and punch and everything compared to the reference track, because there are subtle nuances, because you can get the same loudness, but like miss all this shit over here. You can get the same loudness, same dynamics, but there's like the subtle nuances of like maybe like the return track trick that like this track has, but you don't, but like it doesn't really equate to any loudness or dynamics. It's just like a textural nuanced decision kind of thing that plays more of a role with the feel than the actual like dynamics or whatever, all that technical mastering shit. So I do that a lot with reference tracks. Like, okay, what is the nuanced feeling? Does it feel present? Gold Geisha, you know who Gold Geisha is?
I do, yeah.
I think that's how you say it, Gold Geisha. Is it? You're from Japan, you know? Is that
Gold, I think it'd be Gold Geisha.
okay? Gold Geisha. There you go. That makes more sense. I knew I was messing that up. Gold Geisha. I love his shit, dude. I always reference his shit. It's so good. It's so like he's got that reverb return trick to a T. And something about his stuff has it's got like a sparkle to it. Like it's hard to put into words. It's not dynamics. It's not loudness. It's not anything that you can kind of like turn a knob to like make it louder or adjust or EQ. It's just like there's like a quality to it. It just has a taste, you know? And that's what I've realized means a lot to me is like getting that like the feeling of it. You know what I mean?
What you're saying is basically like training your ears.
Mhm.
Because I mean, I think looking away from the project or just being like just exporting the project and listening
That
back
helps
to
too,
it as
yeah.
like an audio file, you like pick up all of these things that you didn't notice because you're so distracted looking at all the things.
Right.
Like it can sound totally different when you're not listening to it. But then, yeah, like comparing tracks, you can have your matching EQ, where you're like, oh, my subs are at the same level and my highs are at the same level. And you could have the same exact thing, but you listen to the two tracks and one has something that the other doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes down like all the computer monitoring software isn't going to help you. You got to like use your ears and you're like, this is what's going on. This is why it sounds better.
Yeah. And that's why I really love like electronic music production is like the level of detail that goes into it is just so I don't know, like I don't know about you, but like when I open Ableton and like really get into it, like I have a good session, I totally lose track of time. It like 4 hours. I'm just like, oh shit, it's been
It
4 hours.
just like blips by.
Yeah, because there's just so many like nuanced decisions you're making, and it's like some of them become like if you hear like the known unknowns, the known knowns, and then the unknown knowns or whatever it is. You ever hear those?
No, explain it.
Like you can know that you don't know something,
Mhm.
you can not know that you don't know something, and then you can not know that you know something. So like with production, like maybe like I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't know, like the training your ears. Like you might have some weird, trained to ear thing that gets that like nice sparkle to it, but you might not even know that you're doing it. And like somebody else could be like, what the fuck is that? But you don't even know that you know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then there's also like, you don't know what you don't know either. I don't know. That's the kind of like the known unknowns thing. Find that kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's basically doing something without realizing that you're doing it.
Yeah. It's like when it becomes automatic, like when I hit the key commands on Ableton, I'm like, yeah, whatever, the more that you can like bring music production decisions into that world of like subconscious, like this is just how I operate now, the more like your computer literally becomes like an instrument that you play kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is my nerd device that is getting this shit onto there so it can go out here,
Yeah.
And I love that concept. Like I need to take this and put it in here so it makes sense and then I can release it, and doing that, like it's in my head, like this sick idea is in my head. How do I get it over here? That is like there's so many different like branches to get there. But like once you finally kind of start getting to the point where you're like, okay, I can kind of make what's in my head pretty well, That's a big point where you're like, oh shit,
Reaching that where you're like achieving the level of fluency to be able to like,
yeah,
when you have something, you're like, it goes, don't.
yeah.
And then being able to sit down and be like, I think it needs this. And I think it needs this. And I think it needs this. And then like you listen back and you're like, oh, I did it.
Those are good sessions, dude. Those are really good sessions because then there's like the other ones where you're just like you were talking about earlier, where you're just like making music and like, dude, this is garbage. This actually sounds terrible, bro. Like,
Yeah. What have I been spending the last 2 hours doing?
Dude, I hate that, dude. I'm like, and I'll like start out like super motivated, dude. New idea time, man. New idea time. This is gonna be so sick, And then I'll start something like, oh, this is so dope. This is so dope. And then I'll catch myself getting stuck, like overthinking the main bass for like 2 hours. Like I could have just kept adding percussion and like not thinking about the main bass or whatever, and like made a full boned like the track has its bones there, and then focus on the main bass. But I'll like catch myself like overthinking like one thing for too long, and then I have nothing on the arrangement, and then I'm just like, that's over. I'm gonna go fuck off and do something else.
You lose that momentum. Now that you're outside the military, what do you think is inspiring you the most? Like, where have you been finding your inspiration when you're writing your new ideas recently?
Nature for sure. Something about nature is super captivating, and I kind of want to start branding my stuff oriented around kind of like a grungy nature vibe. Like I love that feeling so much, because for me, nature like kind of commands your respect because it doesn't give a fuck. And like that to me is so cool. Like the indifference of nature or the indifference of the universe, where it's like, I don't know, like an example of like I'm on a 2-story building and I'm having a great day. I can decide to like jump out the window and now I'm landing on the ground. And like the tree next to me like does not care, you know, or like if I'm out like hiking and I like twist my ankle, I'm like, I'm really out there now, you know, like the indifference, like being placed into like a location where it's like, oh shit, I'm really out here. It's like so surreal to me. And I really like that. And just something about nature has like there's like this presence, this like essence to nature that I find really, really intriguing. And I like to express that with music using like a lot of ethereal type shit. That's where like more of my spirit of like my body spirit TRISEKT kind of thing comes from, is like nature focus. Cause it's just the feeling of that super deep. And ever since I've been out, I've been able to go to super cool nature spots and really just kind of like envelop myself in it. I'm like, okay, dude, I want to like get more grungy and like naturey. And I don't know, I kind of like the vibe of like jungly or forest tribal sounds, you know, like who like big, you know, tribal chants and fucking dope ass percussion and like heavy ass trap beats. And then like, you know, like my song King of Kings that I had, it's kind of like that, kind of like motivated by that stuff. But yeah.
So you're telling me that walking through the forest and seeing the beauty of trees and leaves makes you want to make fat trap beats.
Precisely, man. That's right. Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Let's see. We have a few more things here for you. What's the thing that made you feel the best stemming from your music recently? Like it could be in a project, it could be somebody's reaction.
Oh,
It could be something that's happened because of your consistency with music.
okay, for me, it goes how my music like affected them or like how they made them feel or something like that. That to me is so cool. The concept of like, I can be a creator of a song that has a feeling in its own world and like realm to it. And like, as the creator of it, it's like, okay, I have this targeted like feeling, you know? And then every now and then, like I'll get a DM on Instagram of someone being like, oh, yo, dude, like your song really told a story and it like made me feel this way. Or like, I've had some people like, dude, I listened to your song on acid. Holy shit, life changer, man. You know what I'm saying? Even like that shit is so cool to me. Just hearing how it affects them. And some people like really get it, because for me, I have a lot of like synesthesia type like visuals in my head when I'm like listening to music. And I feel like every producer probably has some form of that in some way. But that shit is so cool to me, like synesthesia like that. And like one sense perception becoming something else. If anybody listened didn't know. Or like it's like when one sense perception reminds you of another one, or you're like right? Like you can hear color or like
Hear, color, see, sound, things like this.
yeah. So whenever somebody hits me up and like talks to me about like how the music made them feel, or like a certain part of the song that they really liked or something, I'm like, okay, like I remember making the decision to like capture this feeling. And then when somebody like reciprocates back, like, dude, you captured it. Like I didn't ask. It's just like, dude, like you captured this feeling and it's exactly what I had intended. I'm like, holy shit. Like that's so like, that is crazy. That's so cool. It's like music is like, it's like way beyond the limitations of words. You know what I'm saying? It's like a interdimensional conversation we're all having. And we have to use this shitty medium of words to try and describe how that pluck bass sound textured. And it was kind of like orange feeling, but it like was definitely warm, but kind of cold, and like definitely felt far out. Like, I don't know, using sound and then like having sound be the main sense. And then you got like with sound, you got like width, volume, like warmth, like you have all these different aspects to it that I find super, super interesting. And I don't know, yeah, but like back to the main question, the biggest thing was just like other people's feedback on how their music feels. And whenever I listen to a song now, like as a producer, when I was like, dude, this shit's so much fucking work. And there's a lot of people out here making music passionately. And like I respect that so much. Like just people that have something they want to say, like, okay, I have something I really want to express. And then they go through the hard work of like learning music production, watching all these tutorials, asking all these questions. What the fuck does this mean? This is garbage, but I'm releasing it. I guess I'll do this, guess I'll do that. They get their first listener. You know, they spend all this time producing a song and mastering it, throw that shit on SoundCloud. They get like 2 likes and some fake bot saying, fucking click this link. Nobody listens to it. You know what I'm saying? Like that level of like optimism, like I'm doing this. I don't care how it turns out. I love people like that. I love people like that to have that just like, I'm doing this shit, man. And ever since I've started producing music, it's kind of like got me into that community more. And I just love people like that deep connection of just like I want to express something. And with music, it's so powerful for me. So when I hear other people, even just like listeners or whatever, talk about something like that, or like trying to bring the ineffable experience of music into a place of words.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's like when somebody tells me that, it's like, dude, we had a conversation without using words. Like, dude, like you saw it, like you saw the thing that like, yeah, you know? And I don't know, I love connections like that. So yeah, it's kind of a long ass answer to your question, but yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, it transcends language in a lot of ways, right? Because like the songs we put out, like people all over the world are listening to them. And even if they don't speak English or, you know, doesn't whoever makes the song, even like you could listen to like a Punjabi song or like a song in Spanish and like you can still like get like the feeling and the emotion. You like you understand what they're saying, even if you don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're also mentioning like, you know, driven creative people. And I agree, like surrounding yourself with that kind of people is always like positive. Creation, prioritizing creation over consumption. What are your thoughts as we move farther into the AI age and like AI starts to chip away at more and more creative fields? Like I think that it's a little bit down the road for what we're doing, but like eventually, you know, somebody can have like the same kind of ideas we're having, but then they'll have the tools will be so much easier. Like the path to expressing that idea, you know, like we were talking about today, like after you've been working at it and working at it, and finally you're able to like take that idea and express it.
It's getting easier to do that, you know, like even us, we're using the fucking Ozone Auto Master, like we're kind of fucking doing it too, you know.
100%. So like once it gets to a point where, you know, somebody with no technical music experience or something could be like, I want to hear like a dubstep song with blah blah blah, this kind of vocals and like this style, but mash it up with, I don't know, reggaeton. And the computer's like, how about this? And they're like, no, 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 no. And then they're just, you know, regenerating and waiting for it, like basically their taste to line up. And then, but they come out with like a, you know, eventually a piece of music is produced that has like a, you know, a core good idea and merit. Like how does that sit with you? Like where do you draw the line between what we're doing using all of these AI tools to make our lives easier and then, you know, something like Midjourney but for music?
Yeah, there's definitely a paradigm shift with that fucking AI stuff coming out. And there's definitely a point with this AI stuff where like it's a big leap to where it's like, okay, like are we actually making music anymore? Or like, is this actually producing now? Because if you think about it right now, I didn't produce this computer. I didn't code the plugins that I use. I don't know how Ableton works at all. You know, I am already using other people's inventions and ideas and productions for my own use. So am I actually producing anything either? You know, it's like this weird philosophical question of like, what is creating something? And like, is it yours? Is it yours to have? You know, so with that, you know, like there's that concept with like the computer and the plugins and shit, but it's definitely like, you got to fucking learn it. Like, and it's not easy to learn it, you know?
Yeah.
But now with this AI thing, it seems like it's a big jump from like, yeah, you didn't make the computer and you didn't make the plugins, you didn't make Ableton, but you still are making the idea, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like with AI, it's introducing a whole new thing where it's like, now you're not making the idea. So it's like, I honestly don't know how like to conceptualize it really. I'm not like upset about it. That like, I mean, the life's gonna go on. Am I gonna cry in my room in like a ball in my bed because AI took over my music production career? Nah, guess what? I'm just gonna keep fucking making music. And maybe the AI will make my music even better, you know? And if you just, I've realized too, like if you just kind of stop focusing on like external outcome all the time of like, how many plays am I gonna get? You know, what this and that. Is this gonna do good? Is it gonna do bad? Like, you know, hope for the best, but just keep outputting music because you want to. Create art because you have a vision. You know, if you start making music for something external because you want that thing, then I don't think you're making music for the right reason. Like it's got to come from like within, you know? And the only person you can change your life is you, you know what I'm saying? And the only person that you can like really work upon is you. So it's like, I don't know. The AI thing is definitely very interesting. Like I'm so curious how it's going to go. I'm actually really hoping, just like broad terms, it'd be sick if AI just like stopped a bunch of human suffering. You know what I'm saying? That would be super sick if we could stop like having people work in factories and shit, just like some robo dude in there, you know. We kind of already do, but like there's still hella like people over in China and shit. Just, you know, I would sacrifice my music production ego for like less human suffering. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty cool. So in that case, sure, and I don't know how it's gonna go. It might be a little while, but like Mid Journey, that shit, dude, that they nailed that shit. Like that's real art, really good, in like 5 seconds off of Discord. You know what I'm saying? Like that's gonna happen to music. It's gonna happen with music for sure at some point. And just I don't know, keep creating, man. Just the fundamentals apply still.
I think so. Like there's obviously like wormholes of debate that you could go down about like where is it scraping its data from? Like there's a whole controversy with Midjourney. If there was a music AI like that, like would they just be scraping all of Spotify? Would you be owed royalties because the AI is using parts of your music to reconfigure into new pieces of music? But I think you basically nailed it. Like you just have to keep making it, and if you're making it for the right reasons, then like the humanity of the art is going to shine through. Like we were mentioning with the language and everything, the message and the human spirit and the emotions that you put into it, and like your message and personality as a creator, that's going to be what people ultimately connect to.
Yeah.
People probably aren't going to stop craving